Bersdorf. I am a Spanish teacher. I was here yesterday with my students. We did a presentation on being mindful leaders, so kind of what was talked about this morning. My kids are doing it right now. I'm a K-8 building, so my 6th, 7th, and 8th graders volunteered to be mindful leaders this year after doing mindfulness just in Spanish class. I'm the only teacher so far that's like inserted it. Now this year, our 1st grade teacher, 2nd grade teacher, they're bringing it into their classrooms as well. And so today, you're like, what is a Spanish teacher doing talking to me about mindfulness? Well, I'm also a yoga instructor. I've been a yoga instructor for 8 years. Here you guys. And I took a class that literally, you're welcome. I took a class that was called, what's on your little handout here? I needed 3 graduate credits to move up in the pay scale, literally to jump a lane. And I was like, oh, well, this looks perfect. It was through teacheradvancementcourses.com. And it was like recognized by the Illinois State Board of Education. I'm like, perfect. I teach yoga, staying present, right up my alley. And it really was. It was just all about mindfulness. And it was all about the brain research behind it and the practices. And then from there, I have gotten just a bunch of different certifications because it just makes so much sense, right? And I feel like it's what we need in schools today and as adults. So today, I'm not going to give you a lot of ideas for your students, but rather for yourselves. How many of you guys already have just a mindful practice going for yourself? Whether you meditate, whether you mindful walk, awesome, good. So me too, I did too, and no one else in my school building did. So I hope to give you some tools today to insert it in a very natural, evolutionary way where it feels good to everyone. Because at my school we had this occur maybe like 8 years ago where my principal brought in a company and it was like called Isness is My Business. It was all about being present. It wasn't called mindfulness. It didn't work. It was an outside company and she wasn't very well received. The leadership wasn't. And it was from her, so it was met with resistance. It just didn't go well. People were like, this is against my religion. And when I brought it in and just slowly inserted tiny things, and that's what I want to show you today, it's just gone better. It's gone smoother. People have harnessed it for their own selves. If that makes sense, does that resonate with some of you guys? Okay, cool. So that's what I hope to leave you with today, a ton of tools that you can take away and then insert it into your school or your place of work, wherever you are, that work for you. Sound good? Okay, great. So if you're on this presentation, wonderful. You're going to want to be, and I want you to have it. Just file, make a copy of it, make it yours. That's where you can contact me. And I want you to know this. We are like adults, right? This is an adult learning environment. So if you need to leave at any time, if you decide, like, this is not for me, I'm already doing this stuff, just leave. There's so many great things that you can learn here today at this conference, and you need to go to another session. Fabulous. Do it. And then another disclaimer, I'm very flexible. So whatever you like, if I'm not speaking your language today, if you have questions, just tell me. We'll stop. We'll do something else. I'll answer your question. Sound good? Water break, pee breaks, whatever you need. Do it up. And so the first thing we're going to do, if you're on the presentation, it'll be easy for you. You just click right on that, and you're going to do a self-regulation inventory. It's just 3 questions. It's just a Google form. It's a check-in. And this is what my staff did. I created this with a social worker. It's right on this presentation, so you'll need an electronic device. So sorry. And this QR code will work as well. If you shoot your phone right at it, you should be able to get right to the little Google form. Any technology troubles, tell me. I also love technology. So I do. I really do. It's like a hazard of my job. don't get on it, no big deal. It's a check-in for you, really, is all it is. Do you guys mind if I share your results? Just in a graph. It's anonymous. No one will see anybody's names or anything. Alright, so we've got 15 responses so far. Here's how we're doing. Yeah. Are you struggling? No worries. Okay, so can I use your phone and please do your QR thing? See. Oh, you don't have one.
On most phones now, if you just use your camera, it works.
For real?
Yeah. It's brilliant. I just learned it.
Did you?
Yeah.
Thank you.
a
Me
week
too.
ago.
I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Hold on. Kinda like a shadow. This maybe I can. Okay, well I can type in the URL for you. Yeah, you can use another device too. Because I want you to have the presentation as well. Okay, we're gonna see if this works. What's your name? Laura. I won't forget that, Laura. I love that you Googled me. Some stuff came up. I never Googled myself. I know. See what's out there. All right, Laura. So, you guys, let me get this in, and then now, if you're on the presentation, I want you to notice something about the presentation. It's really freaking long. And here's why. We're not going to do all of that today. But it's like all the stuff that I hope that you travel away from here today with. If some of the resources I show you don't work, then you know you have other options. I'm almost done typing this in. In your handout is what I call a mindful teacher journal that I've created for my staff. It's also linked in the presentation. And you can modify it for like the needs of your staff maybe. Safari cannot open it. Dang it.
That's what mine was doing too.
Well, I'm so sorry. Okay, well, it was just a check-in, so you can just answer in your head. How about that? It literally just was, sorry for taking your phone hostage. Yeah. And I will, the presentation also is in like the Google shared folder that Tracy is going to share with everybody anyway. So you'll have it. Okay. So if I hop back to how we're doing. So here's how we are. So 22 of you answered so far. All right, so we have one person, excellent, who's out of 5. We have 5 of us who are out of 4, okay, and 13 of us who are right smack dab in the middle, awesome, and then 3 of us who are out of 2. So the 1 was very dysregulated, right? And then the 5 was very calm and very, very regulated. Why do I do this? Any ideas? Okay, good. Good, Jen. Yes,
You can read your room to know where people are
I
at.
do. That is one of the reasons to kind of read the room. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Did you redo it at the end again?
No.
So we're at later.
No, but that's a good idea.
What are the questions?
The questions are really simple. On an average day at school, how regulated have you felt since the start of the school year? How do you feel cared for at work was the second question. And then last but not least was just how important do you consider teacher, educator, self-care, and your overall well-being? I'm glad to see the answer to this one because that's actually why I do it. Because if we're going to be taking care of other people, how, if we're not taking care of ourselves, if we're not feeling well ourselves, how the heck can we ever help anyone else, right? I think that gets lost sometimes in education. It's about the kids, it's about the kids, it's about the kids. And it is, of course, right? My students were here with me yesterday and they wore me the freak out. They had churros and there was caffeine right next to it. There was Pepsi on one side and coffee on the other side. And my students ate like 9 churros each and then they drank coffee with a ton of sugar in it and then Pepsi. And I was then trying to make them do yoga. I was so worn out. And so if that's our days, right? Our days are so like turbulence filled and like most people wake up and they can't control the outcome of their days. But like us teachers, we're dealing with other little humans, right? So if we're gonna take care of other people, the first thing we have to do is take care of ourselves. So that's really why I give you that self-inventory, so that's my purpose. I'm here for you guys today. I'm here to give you resources to take care of yourself. And mindfulness works if you start with the adults. Because administrators will leave, children will leave, they come and go. The teachers are usually the ones who stay. So if you have some sort of operating system, some sort of practice that the teachers have, and as a whole, they've like taken it on, harnessed it as something that works for them, then it will work with your students. So we started at my school as a staff. That's where we started. And like I said, the outside company didn't go so well. But when it was me just coming in and I teach yoga and people know that, and I just said, you guys want to try this? We tried it, we gave it a go. I'll show you just the simple ways. I knew I couldn't ask the teachers in my district to do anything else. So I had to find ways that mindfulness was going to insert into their lives where they weren't doing anything extra. So hopefully that's what you go away with today, is some ideas where teachers are going to be able to do things for themselves and take care of themselves. For me, that's what mindfulness has helped me do. So now we start with a little loving kindness meditation, and Toby already kind of ran us through something like this. So we'll do it quick. I'm going to close this door. Just going to stand in the back of the room, and if you're comfortable, you know you can close your eyes. If that's not comfortable for you, you can keep them open. And then sit as straight and tall in your chair as you can. Place both feet on the ground so that you're supported and grounded. And then just choose a spot for your hands. I'm sure most of you guys have done this before. Loving kindness meditation, otherwise known as heartfulness in the mindfulness world. So as you sit straight and tall and as you find your mindful body, just start to notice the sounds in the room. And move to the sound of your breath. Just feel your breath in, feel your breath out. If it's cool going in, notice if it's warm on the way out. From there, let's deepen, let's unify your breath in this space. Big exhale for anything weighing heavy on you. And breathe in through your nose. And big exhale out through your mouth. One more just like that. Big breath in, feel the air go in. Breathe out through your nose or mouth. Now think of someone you really love. Picture that person in your mind, anyone you truly care for. As you see them, whisper in your head to that person, may you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you live with ease. Take another inhale. Full exhale. Now think of someone who challenges the same message. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. And may you live with ease. Last but not least, come back to your breath one more time. In through your nose, out through your nose or mouth. And now think of yourself. Say to yourself, may I be safe. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I live with ease. Before you open your eyes, make a list of all the things here that you're grateful for in your life. Anything that makes you happy, brings you joy, the people, the places, the things. Start to number them in your head. How many are there? Now, how long would it take for you to add yourself to that list? What number would you be? Another breath in for all those things that keep you happy, healthy, living with ease, make you feel safe. Breathe away anything keeping you from that sensation. Once you're ready, come back to the room. How do you guys feel? Good? Did you notice anything during that? Hard to pay attention? Hard to send kind thoughts to someone who challenges you? Anything at all? Yeah.
That I wasn't on the list.
I know, me too. I know.
You said it.
I wasn't on the list either. I got to like 8. A yoga instructor did that like a year ago in a class, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm not on my own list. So that's just my purpose. Thank you, Cindy, for saying that. Because as educators, that's what we do. As people who serve other people, that's what we do. We don't put ourselves on the list. And so that's why I brought mindfulness to my staff. That's why my administrator was so open to it, because he doesn't put himself on his list either. Neither does my assistant principal. So maybe, and I changed the language of this a little bit. A lot of times in like a loving kindness meditation, a heartfulness meditation, it'll say things like, may you be free from suffering. And when I do this with little kids, that doesn't make sense to them. You know, and when I do that in an environment where people might have different beliefs and things like that, may you be peaceful. I just changed it a bit more, so the language is just different. So, yeah.
Do you ever have the kids come up with, I go to the rooms in our building and I ask them what they feel like they
To
need.
say,
Yeah.
that's
And they
wonderful.
come up with great stuff.
With some great, yeah.
Things I wouldn't have.
Yeah. Cool. That's wonderful. No, I haven't, but I will. Okay, and then there's what we just said in the end, right? If you were to name all the things you're grateful for, what number would you be on that list? I didn't even add myself when I did that, like you, Cindy. So, anybody else? Some people do, right? Some people put themselves right on there. So, this is an article from a publication, We Are Teachers. I don't know if you guys have heard of it before. But I find a lot of their things that they write about speak to me and connect to mindfulness in a way. So this article is about why good teachers are quitting, and then this is just a short little video. And if you're welcome to click on the article and read the whole thing if you want to. And I start with this not to be negative, but just because I think mindfulness entered into a school environment isn't the solution, but maybe something that will aid in keeping some of the great educators in the profession. At least it has for me. link there if you want to read a little bit more of the statistics. And I don't have those oppositions. I don't have to spend a lot of money in my own environment. I have one more video to show you guys. I was going to quit my job in this very affluent district because of the leadership in my school, because I felt very disempowered to do my job for probably like 8 or 9 years straight. And then new leadership came in, and the culture has changed and the climate has changed, and it's because of mindfulness. So this is another article from We Are Teachers, and it just kind of harnesses the self-regulation inventory you just took. The article was written by a teacher who lost feeling in her arms and was in the hospital in and out within the first 6 years of teaching, just because she wasn't paying attention to herself. And for me, that's what mindfulness has done. And she wrote, yes, I'm passionate about what I do. Yes, I see it as more than just my job, but nobody wins, not my students, not my family, not me, when I'm literally suffering for the cause, and she was. Which is why when it comes to the crazy turbulence-filled flight that is teaching, we've got to put on our own oxygen masks first, which sounds probably gross to some of us, right, in this profession. How many of you guys work in a school? Okay. How many of you guys work somewhere else and teach other things? Anything at all? Okay, awesome. Great. So we're all educators of some sort. But we all do what we do because we normally put people before us, before our own needs. So mindfulness has helped me remember to meet my own needs first, and then as well as the other teachers in my district. Have you guys seen this video? This teacher? It makes me cry every time I watch it. We might go back to it. You guys want to watch it now? Sure. Okay. It's only 2 minutes. But this teacher gets emotional just because of like the state of her job. And again, I don't have the sorts of issues like at my school that this teacher has. I don't know if any of you guys will either. But I'll just show you. It's just 2.5 minutes. Let's see how the sound is.
I'm a first-year teacher, and sorry I'm upset because I have kind of a rough day.
Can you guys read the subtitles? Okay.
Yeah, but it's okay, we're straight from school, dude. I don't know if I can stay teaching forever, and that makes me really sad. Because this is not my first career. I came back to school to be a teacher, and I really love the students that I work with. I'm sorry.
I show you that not to like make you sad or depressed or emotional in any way, but if that's the state of our profession for some people, how many of you guys are familiar with restorative practices? Yeah, okay, great. So mindfulness can be a restorative practice for you yourself first if you're dealing with some sort of trauma, right? With a student, a colleague, an administrator, and then from there you can be your best self to help other people, yeah? That's what it has done for me though. And then this is from the Choose Love movement. You guys familiar with that curriculum? It's free for schools. It's an SEL curriculum and there's bits of mindfulness in it. It's really, really great. It's really, really well done. I'm not like promoting it in any way, but if your school isn't resource rich and you need an option, this curriculum, I just like what they wrote about the state of teaching today. Because I swear to goodness, when I first started teaching Spanish, I only taught Spanish. I don't think I wore any other hats. I don't think I was a counselor. I don't think I was a parent. I don't think I did anything but just teach the Spanish. Unless I was like naive. I mean, I was 22 when I started teaching. But this right here, this Choose Love movement, it's based on courage, gratitude, forgiveness, compassion equals choosing love. Jesse Lewis was a second grade boy who lost his life in the Sandy Hook tragedy, and his mother worked with a bunch of educators and psychologists and wonderful humans to make this curriculum. And I just liked what it said here because I think it's just true. We begin every single year and every single day with like new challenges, right? And we're wearing more hats than ever. And there's things listed here. Did you guys read them already? Advocate, protector, parent, counselor, cheerleader, problem solver, detective, healer, motivator. The list goes on and on. Does anybody add anything else that's not listed there? Lawyer. Yeah, that's a good one. Police officer. Yeah, and we're not trained. Who's got training in that, right? As a teacher. Some of the roles you're prepared for, and some of them you're not. And it's daunting, right? To try to heal, to try to solve. And so for me, mindfulness has been the thing that I feel has prepared me sometimes just to listen, right? And just that ear sometimes can fill up some of those hats. And this is just the rest of the quote. This was just the beginning of the curriculum before you even got started with it. You just have all these questions in your head. I never questioned even as a child if I was going to be safe in school, right? Like that was never in my head. I went to school and I knew it was a safe place. So kids come in with that now. We as teachers do too. The challenges, will their test scores be good? Can I handle the class? All of these questions. And then in the end, we do these things with little support, little guidance, little acknowledgement. We still do them with a smile on our face. So I start this way just because my purpose, remember, is to help you bring mindfulness to your teachers and to yourself, but it seems like most of us have a practice. So you know a bit of my story. I was going to quit my job. I've been there 18 years. I was going to quit my job because I felt like I couldn't do my job and just be myself in my school. And that was just due to the leadership in my building. Just the negative things were noticed in my building, not just me. A lot of the teachers felt that way. So I brought in mindfulness, and it seemed to help some of the teachers just deal with what we were being told about ourselves. And then thankfully, I didn't quit because that leader decided to retire. And in fact, I was going to move to North Carolina. My husband moved without me, started a business there. But now my new administrator is all about empathy and empowerment and mindfulness. So I stayed. So now my husband and I live apart. So that's my story, but I'm happy still living here in this place where I created my own community for like 18 years. I didn't want to leave, but I was ready to and take a massive pay cut just for my own mental wellness, right? So that's my little story. And then this is how the teachers and I began at my school. So the book is right here. Have you guys heard of it? Yeah, it's so easy, this book. It's separated into 53 chapters, one for each week of the year. And all I did, you guys, was take pictures of the chapters in this book. I started just with an email. I emailed Happy Mindful Monday, and I gave them a challenge from the book. If they wanted to read what was inside, great. If they wanted just to read the title, because they're all different challenges, they could just do that. If they wanted to delete the email, they could just do that. Because we get so many emails, right? That's part of the daunting task some days of like our jobs. So that's an evaluation too. If you guys click on that, I love feedback and I'd love to know what you thought of today. If it was good, bad, if I need to change something. So if you're on the presentation, it's a Google form. You can just evaluate me in the end. I used just the Apple Mail program at first to send the emails, took pictures, put them in a cute little thing, added extra resources if people wanted to do that. But now I'm using S'more. James was talking about S'more today. I don't know if we were talking about the same S'more. But S'more is just like a newsletter thing. And it's like $79 a year for a school. And it's awesome. And it's even cuter. They like make them look even like better now. So now I use S'more. And we're no longer using this book. But here's the contents of the book. These are just the chapters. The first week of school last year, all of the teachers who decided to be part of the mindful group, and it was a choice. I did a quick presentation on mindfulness, and I then gave them a form and said, do you want to take part? And just about 90% of my school was in the group. They wanted it in their lives. So though that 90% of the teachers, for a whole week, we just used our non-dominant hand together, and we met every Wednesday for a Wednesday wellness lunch, if we could. And we talked about how ridiculous it was to use our non-dominant hand for a week. And then each week the challenge was different. This one was really easy for me because I'm kind of OCD clean in my house. You just had to choose a room in your house and make it look like no one had ever been there. That's it. Just another way of being mindful. And that's why I like this book, because mindfulness of, yes, is finding stillness. Yes, it's finding the present moment. Yes, it's breathing, right? But it can be other things too, as I know you guys know. And this book just inserted it into the teachers' daily lives without having them do anything extra at all. If they wanted to read an email, they could. If they didn't want to read the email, they didn't have to. If they wanted to take part in the challenges, they could. So any questions about what you see up here? And I'll pass around this book, you guys can see. There is, Dr. Jan Chosen Bays spent time in a Buddhist monastery, so she does throw in some of the explanations and traditions in this book. But I don't know why she made the choice, but she also made a card version of it, which is even simpler. They're just double-sided cards where the origins of the different beliefs and traditions and what's behind it isn't in here. So it's even more secular. So I'll pass these around if you guys want to take a peek at them, see if they'd be useful for you. Any questions about any of the challenges you see up there and wonder what they are? Yeah.
So you did your presentation, and then you got teachers who were interested, and then you emailed out. You just took a picture of the chapter, you emailed it out, and then you offered time and space to process that.
Uh-huh.
And then, but now you've gone through all of them and kind of moved on to
Different book. Uh-huh. Yeah. I just keep using books because it's already done for me. I don't have to do any more work except take pictures of books, right? And then just say where it comes from. So now we're using this one, See Your Way to Mindfulness. Yeah, and it's 26 chapters. So now I'm taking, for the whole year, we're the same challenge for 2 weeks. And teachers seem to like that better because 1 week they'll ignore it, and then the next week they're like, oh yeah, what was it again, Lauren? And they're really simple things. That one's a bit more creative and artsy. That guy literally wrote that book because he realized the distractions of our phone and what it was. So he took all the pictures in that book with his phone and inserted mindfulness that way. But yeah, now we're using that one. You can pass that one around. And the next one that we're going to use next year, the reading specialist found this one. It's awesome too, The Art of Noticing. It's not all mindfulness, but the activities that are inside of here are. They're similar but different to the things that we've done. So I'll pass this one around too. It's a really good one. There's 131 in here, so we won't do all of these. But I'll give this one to you. You guys can pass it around. So that's how we started, just with a book. And I sent an email, and then we had Wednesday wellness lunches. Sometimes people came, sometimes they didn't, sometimes there'd be me and one other person, sometimes there'd be me and like 9 other people. So it just depended on the week. And whether or not the challenge spoke to the people, it didn't matter. I gave them a mindful quiz, which is also in here, before we started, and they got a score on how mindful they were. It gave them a grade and a little blurb about themselves, like those things you used to do in like Cosmo or whatever magazine, and you got it up. This one's online, it does it for you. And then we took the quiz again after a year, and people's scores grew. So
Lauren, what's that quiz or what?
it's right in here. I'll show it to you. Yeah, everything I talk about is in here. That it's like, you know, easy. I want to make it easy.
You said you did a newsletter with S'more.
S'more.
What was, like, did you
That's
just use-
hyperlinked right there too, in the
use
presentation.
the content of like
The book.
and
Mhm.
then you just use that
Took a
as
picture.
Your,
It's so simple. Like, I'm not giving you guys anything that's rocket science today. It's so simple. It's really easy. And I want you guys to hopefully walk away to do it as well. Right? Like, just like Toby and James were talking about, like the evolution of things and creating a safe space. I feel like that's what happened with mindfulness. It just became, oh, this is normal. You want me to use my left hand all week long? Fine. Right? Like, it was really regular things. It wasn't all breathing. It was things that they could just do. And it became, oh, okay, that's mindfulness? Great. Okay. So it made more sense, I guess, to them. Any other questions about some of those challenges that are up there? Some of them were, like, really goofy. Like, the one called your stomach, you couldn't eat until your, like, stomach told you to. Like, until it was like, because, you know, you just wake up and you eat, right? Usually you'll wake up, you'll have breakfast. Just cuss. It's your routine. So then this mindful challenge was like, you had to wait. You had to listen to your body. There was more behind it, too. Yeah. I'm leaving you with that challenge today, Cindy. It's like you're psychic.
Looking at it.
So this is chapter 10, and every time the phone rings, because it dings, it bleeps, it vibrates, my immediate reaction is to look at it. Even other people's phones. Like when my colleagues have the phone out on the table and it lights up, it doesn't even make noise. I'm like, oh, someone's calling you.
There was a presenter yesterday that I was up towards the front and it was sitting on the little thing there and he kept like up to it. I'm like,
Yeah.
just flip it upside down.
Yeah. Wonder who that is. I know. Well, it gets you off task, right? So distracted. So the challenge was simple. Anytime your phone makes any sort of noise, you breathe before you even look at it. That's it. And it's made me really conscious of it. And sometimes I look, and then other times I have different ringtones for the people I love in my life, and then I have different ringtones and like sounds for the people who sometimes are challenging. And so I know who it is usually.
No, it's really good.
Yeah. So anyway, that's the practice. You take 3 mindful breaths before you look at your phone. And I leave you with that today. I'm going to show it to you one more time so you don't forget, because I know that your brains are probably fried. This is a challenge in the book, Mindful Listening. So we're going to do it really quick, just a fast one. So here's what it requires of you. You have to stand up and stand ear to ear with someone. And the person who's standing and looking at the screen is going to answer this prompt. And then I'll make a little sound. I'll clap. We'll switch. You'll just switch so that the other person is looking this way. And you can't respond. Can't nod your head. You can't make any noises. You have to just listen to their answers. Okay? Can't look at them. Ear to ear. We ready? Okay, great. Stand up. You can use the back of the room. You can go anywhere you want. Ear to ear.
Oh, okay.
Are we starting?
Do you have a partner?
I do not.
I'll be your partner.
Just read.
It's a long conference.
Well, so within Michigan, we have programs called Yep. So I do teach, I do special
Swap.
Thank you for sharing.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
How was that, you guys?
Right.
Was it hard not to respond to the person?
Yes.
I like always do. I always do. Oh, wait, I'm supposed to. Yeah, so it's even more challenging if you sit ear to ear, because you just get to be closer, you know. But you can do it either way. Anybody notice anything else about themselves? Yeah.
I actually found this easier. Like I find when you're looking at someone and
Yeah.
they're saying like you want to give those nonverbal cues,
Yeah.
and this like when you couldn't see them, like you really could just listen, and you knew they couldn't see you, so you didn't feel like you had to give that feedback.
Right.
So I actually found it easier than the
Yes.
other
Good.
ways of not giving feedback.
Yeah, yeah. I did this with Tina Raps Bantay in the CARE session last year at this conference. She had us answer a single question. Listen to what we had to do. We had to answer, what makes you happy? And we couldn't stop talking for 3 whole minutes. And you had to you weren't allowed to name like your children. You had to try to find things inside of yourself that made you it was hard. It was very challenging.
Not the whys behind it, but just the things.
Yeah, yeah. And then you couldn't stop talking until the bell went. So, yeah. I'm glad you noticed that about the eye contact. Anything else you guys noticed? How did it feel to be listened to in that manner? Did you notice that there was any difference in how you felt just to be, oh, someone's just listening to me. They're not saying anything back. Did that feel different? Good, bad? Yeah.
I found that I almost missed the connection of actually looking at somebody.
Yeah,
Like
nonverbal
I was doing the
cues,
nodding
yeah.
to myself while I was reading the screen because I needed to feel like I was being heard.
Yeah, right. That's true. I never thought of that.
Yeah, I'm Sarah. That's my name.
That's hilarious. That's true. Yeah.
I found myself explaining a little bit more in depth because I didn't see her understanding or not understanding what my life was like.
Right. Yeah. Good. Good. So that's chapter, I don't know what chapter that is, but that's in the book. It's just super simple. And we did in the book it just explains that whenever you're listening to anyone, that you don't say anything back. That's the challenge. Because normally you're formulating your response, correct? And you have it in your head and then you miss part of the conversation. So regular human behavior, nothing wrong with it, right? Because mindfulness is kind, curious, non-judgmental awareness. But then you find yourself judging yourself. Oh shoot, I'm not supposed to respond, right? At least I do. So these are the teachers at my school, just a couple of them, talking about the experience of doing this for now almost 2 years. So this is Chelsea, our first grade teacher. I thought it would be maybe impactful if you got to hear some of what they have to say, but the sound isn't good and this one doesn't have subtitles, so I'm going to connect to my little Bluetooth because it usually works pretty well. It usually picks my phone up right away. We're connected. So Chelsea's in her 3rd year of teaching at my school.
Hi, I am Chelsea Fricks. I am the first grade teacher here at Bannockburn School, and I'm also part of our Mindful Teacher Group. Each week, Lauren sends us different challenges, whether it's focusing on mindful eating, whether it's, stopping to smell the roses, letting the sunshine in, focusing on our own well-being, because I think as teachers we put so much of our time and energy into our kids' well-being that sometimes we lose sight of our own mental health and our own self-care routine. I really like that each week we have a specific task to do. I think sometimes looking at mindfulness and looking at the idea of a meditation can kind of be a bit overwhelming and can kind of be a big task to take on because we don't necessarily know where to start. So having something simple like focusing on a mindful eating activity or focusing on finding your anchor spot and really just breathing into that anchor spot has been a great guiding tool for myself. And I think that having these tools has not only transferred into my teaching in a positive way to make me less reactive, to make me calm down in a specific situation that might be frustrating, but it's also very much carried into my own personal life. And I think that in and of itself has made me a better teacher, a better friend, a better wife. There's so many benefits that have come from this mindful teacher group, and I'm really appreciative that there's so many of us that are part of this group because one, we keep each other accountable, and we also keep ourselves accountable. And I think that, again, that can get lost in teaching because we put so much of our time and effort into other people. Thank you, Lauren, for starting this at our school. I don't know if we tell you that enough. I appreciate it, and I hope you all have learned as much from her as we all have from her.
That's Chelsea, and we're just about out of time, you guys. So remember I told you this presentation is so long. I mean, there's like 70-some slides or something. I think we're done, right? It's like 1:20 that we're done, right? I know you were having so much fun that the time flew, right? So this is Kathy. She's our reading specialist and instructional coach. I don't really have time to show it to you now because I want to show you what else you have. But Kathy just talks about how mindfulness has brought a cohesive language into our school. And that her favorite thing to do, because one of the challenges is just starting a gratitude journal, and her favorite, and that it's stuck with her, she's never stopped, she writes down 3 things every night before she goes to bed in her journal that she's grateful for. So that's all she really says, and then this is hilarious, this is Jane, she's our math and science teacher. She wrote this to me in an email. No video, but the morning meditations, and she's the most surprising person in the world. I never thought she would meditate with me every morning, and she does. She did it like 3 mornings in a row and then stopped and then realized the 2 days that she did it, what it did for her as a teacher, that now she joins me every stinking morning. It's like me and Jane and sometimes a couple other people that meditate in the morning. So she just wrote that the morning meditations help me remain calm and focus on helping kids navigate their day in a constructive fashion. She didn't want to do a video and this at the bottom. Also, my resting heart rate is lower and I feel less stressed. She, on her watch, she has her heart rate, and better able to cope with each day's challenges. She wrote, it still hasn't helped me be good at technology, or I would have taped a video to show you. She sent me her Bitmoji, which was also a challenge, because she deleted Bitmoji off of her phone. It was hilarious.
Can I ask a follow-up question on that?
Yeah.
Do you do meditation every morning?
Yes.
How does that work?
So we use the Calm app, and that's also linked in your, you can use Headspace, it's also free for educators. Stop, Breathe, Think is free for educators, and I have them all linked in here, so you could just click and go, and you put in your school credentials, and boom, you get a little activation. You're nodding your head, you've done it. Yes, good. So the rest of this, you guys, let it evolve. We're in just year 2 of this. And we've let it evolve naturally. There's an article right here, the steps of implementing a successful mindfulness program, but you have to just let it evolve. If you push, which we learned from my old administrator, it wouldn't really happen. So I read this on a mindful educator group thing on Facebook, and it essentially just says, don't force it. Just let it evolve, and the people want to be in it will be in it, and then eventually, here's what happened at my school, the people who were in it were so much better versions of themselves, or just feeling much more capable of doing their jobs, that now then more people join the group. They're not meditating with us, but they're getting the emails. So the rest of this, here's what's inside. It's a ton of resources. This is Ellen. She talks to the Thai team that were locked in that cave like 2 summers ago. She asked them, how did you remain calm? They said prayer and meditation. And then the rest of this is like linked to this handout. And there's little prompts that if you want to use this with your staff, that's what it's for. I created just a journal for you. And there's prompts throughout the rest of this that follow along this. Those are my dogs, Norman and Charlie. They're the most like present little boys in the world. I include this book up here, You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero, because this quote, she said, you're here, I'm here, I love you. That's what Norman and Charlie say to me every single day when I walk in the door. Oh, you're here, I'm here, I love you. You're here, I'm here, I love you. And they're nothing but present. But as humans, we can't really do that. The rest of the quote is, and now I'm going to pee all over the floor about it, because like, that's what dogs do. But I don't always include that. These are videos that are hyperlinked. From Dan Harris. You guys know his work in mindfulness. Yes, these are his and they're hilarious. He's so snarky and he makes mindfulness so just regular that it just seems like anybody can make it happen and do it. That's another video from Dan Harris. And everything is linked, everything is referenced, nothing is mine. The presentation I just made chock full of other resources that have worked for my staff. This one is hilarious. He talks about why everybody can do at least 1 minute of meditation. This is another quiz that's inside of here. It's a paper quiz of mindful tools. It's right inside of here. This is the online quiz. You can read my results. I scored a 70 on my first one and I was angry because I'm like, I'm a yoga instructor. I meditate. I'm supposed to not have a C, but I've done better from there. This is about mental fitness versus physical fitness. It really spoke to my staff. Jogging like used to be, oh my God, why are you doing that? Who's chasing you? Like that's from Dan Harris' video. This is like, and now the new thing, they're studying the research behind the brains of people who meditate and practice mindfulness, right? And so science is now saying you should. This is just a stat. It's not 1 in 4 of us they'll suffer from mental illness, but rather 1 in 1 of us. Because we all have physical bodies, right? We have physical issues. We all have a brain, so we will all have mental issues at a certain point in life. This is an awesome video about the neurologies, the simple like neuroscience. I mean, all this stuff, you guys, I just want you to have it. So I'm gonna scroll through, and it's just compiled, and you get to just figure out what will help you. There's a bunch of SEL stuff in here, and how SEL and mindfulness work together. I left it in because if you're trying to insert it into your district, then, and if you're not like the school social worker or SEL person, this will just be great for the buy-in. So I left all that in there, the Castle wheel. And then the evaluation is all the way in the end. Bunch of articles, bunch of research. Differences between mindfulness and SEL. It's long, right? Here's the Dr. Dan J. Siegel, the hand model. That's what this is all about. You guys know that. Hand model. Some of us do. Okay, really fast before we go. I'm totally over time. Right, so put your hand up and then you put your thumb right here. That's your amygdala. Prefrontal cortex is supposed to cover it. This is what's supposed to happen. But then Dan J. Siegel says you flip your lid. So then you're operating from your amygdala, right? Which if you look at what your amygdala is in charge of, that's like your flight, fight, freeze. Yes? That's where a lot of people operate from. And that's why we have a lot of conflict. You don't want to flip your lid, right? Because then if you do, even your hippocampus, the thing that makes you remember things and like be able to learn, it's over here, you can't. This is a meditation with swears in it that my husband found. I was so excited. That oh my God, he's meditating. And we did yoga that day together too, one time and only one time, you guys. Yoga. It was great. It's so good. It's 2 minutes long. And it's so many swears. If you're offended by swears, don't listen to it. But if you've had a day where you need to really let some stuff out, it's good to listen to. Not for children. These are all the apps. They're all linked for you to check out and see what will work for you. All of them are free to download, of course.